The girl laughed. That sound still cuts through me like a blade. We were at the Los Angeles shelter, midday sun hitting the metal bars, heat bouncing off the floor. Sunny, a 5-month-old yellow Labrador with deep brown eyes, stood at the front of his kennel, his paw stretched out the way he always did. It looked like a bow, like a little please. He did it for everyone who walked past, day after day, tail moving slow but hopeful. And every time someone stopped, he lifted that paw a bit higher, believing maybe this was his person. That afternoon, a family came in. The parents looked tired, the kids spoiled. She pressed her face to the bars and giggled. "Ew, what's wrong with his leg?" she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Her mother shrugged, her father laughed softly, and they walked away. Sonny froze mid-motion. The paw he offered dropped, slow. His tail stopped moving. He didn't bark, he didn't even blink. "I'm Mike. I'm 45. I've worked in this shelter long enough to see what words can do to a puppy. That day, I saw a Labrador's heart break without a sound. I wanted to tell the girl to stop, to explain that his leg was just a small congenital thing, nothing painful, nothing serious. But she was already gone. And Sonny just stood there, staring at the empty hallway like he was waiting for her to come back and take it all back. After they left, he didn't play, didn't wag, didn't lift his paw again. I cleaned his space, refilled the water, pretended not to notice how quiet he'd become. But inside I was angry. At people, at the world, at myself for not protecting him from that moment. You know that look a dog gives when he still believes someone will choose him? That's what kills you. Sonny looked at every new visitor like that, and every time they passed him, he sank a little deeper into himself. By closing time, he was curled up near the back wall, his golden fur pressed against the cold concrete. He didn't bow anymore. Not that day. Not after that laugh. I told myself I'd fix this. That tomorrow I'd find a way to make the world see him the way I did. A loyal Labrador. A gentle puppy who only wanted someone to reach back when he offered his paw. And as the lights went out in the kennel, I realized I couldn't leave him like that. Something had to change. The next morning, I took Sonny to the vet. He walked beside me, limping slightly, head low, the way a puppy does when the world has already taught him disappointment. He didn't pull on the leash, didn't sniff the grass, just followed my steps like he wasn't sure he deserved to walk anywhere at all. Los Angeles mornings can feel bright but empty, and that day it felt colder than usual. At the clinic, the vet crouched down and ran her hands along Sonny's leg. She smiled. Gentle, reassuring. "It's congenital," she said. "No pain, just different. He's healthy, heart, lungs, everything. What he needs is calm, someone patient, someone who won't see the leg before the Labrador." Sonny's tail moved once, then stopped, like he was checking if it was safe to hope again. While she finished the exam, he leaned against me, pressing that warm side of his body into my knee. You ever felt that kind of trust from a dog? The kind that says, "You're all I've got left right now"? It's heavy. It sits in your chest long after you walk out the door. That's how it was for me. I'm just a shelter worker, not some hero. But at that moment, I knew this Labrador deserved a world that wouldn't laugh at him again. On the drive back, he rested his head on the seat, eyes half closed, one paw twitching like he was dreaming, maybe of someone who'd stay. I kept thinking about the vet's words. He's healthy. He just needs time. Time. That's the one thing we never have enough of in a shelter. Dogs come and go. Sonny just waited. He watched the others leave one by one, tails wagging, doors opening, while his stayed shut. When we got back, I opened his kennel. He walked in quietly, turned once, and lay down facing the wall. No bow this time, just silence. I crouched beside him and said it out loud before I could stop myself. "I won't let them break you, buddy." He looked up, slow, as if he understood every word. That's when I decided, whatever it took, I'd find a way to help this Labrador believe again. And maybe in helping him, I'd remember what that kind of faith feels like too. Days passed and Sonny stopped bowing. He used to lift that paw the moment he heard footsteps, tail wagging slow, eyes bright with that choose me look. Now, he just watched people walk by without moving. He didn't bark, didn't whine. He just sat there, still as stone. You could almost hear the silence around him. That's how a Labrador gives up. Not with noise, but with quiet. Every morning, I'd unlock the shelter gates and he'd be waiting, sitting by the bars, eyes fixed on me. He'd follow me with his gaze while I cleaned, while I fed the other dogs, while I tried to act like everything was normal. But it wasn't. Sonny didn't play anymore. Even when another puppy nudged him, he'd step aside politely, like he didn't want to get in anyone's way. 5 months old, and already he'd learned what rejection felt like. Sometimes I'd sit near his kennel after hours, just talking. Yeah, talking to a dog. I told him about the new adoptions, the people who came and left, the things we'd seen too many times. He listened, head tilted, eyes soft but distant. It was like he was there and somewhere else at the same time. I knew that look. I'd seen it in old dogs who had already lived through too much. But he was just a puppy. You know, most people think shelter dogs bark because they're wild. They don't. They bark because they still have hope. The quiet ones, they're the ones who've started to lose it. And Sonny was getting quieter every day. That night, I stayed a little longer. He didn't lift his paw even once. He just rested his chin on the floor, staring at the space where visitors usually stood, like he was waiting for someone who wasn't coming back. I couldn't watch him fade like that. So I made a decision, not to wait for the next family, not to let another day pass in silence. If people wouldn't come to see Sonny, I'd make sure the whole world did. He wasn't just a dog in a kennel anymore. He was my mission now. The next morning, I brought my old camera from home. Sonny watched me from his kennel, head tilted, eyes curious but cautious, like he wasn't sure if this was another false start. "Come on, buddy," I said softly. "Let's show them who you are." He followed me into the small yard behind the shelter, tail tucked but moving just a little, the first sign of life in days. The sun hit his yellow coat, turning it almost gold. His bad leg didn't stop him from walking. It just made his steps look like a rhythm of courage. I snapped photos while he sniffed the grass, caught the wind, lifted his face to the light. Then for a brief second, he looked straight into the lens, right into me, and it felt like he was saying, "I'm still here." That one shot, that was the Labrador I wanted the world to see. I posted everything that afternoon. A small caption, "The dog who bows to everyone." I added a short clip, Sonny stretching out his paw, that little bow he used to do before the world stopped noticing. I hit upload and waited. At first, a few likes, a couple of comments. "So sweet, poor thing, someone adopt him." But nobody showed up. Hours passed, the shelter closed, and the world kept scrolling. When I went back to his kennel, he was lying down but awake, eyes following every move I made. I sat beside him and pulled out my phone. "People saw you today," I told him. He blinked slow, ears twitching, like he could almost believe it. Then, for the first time in a week, he lifted his paw, not high, just a few inches off the ground, like he remembered what it felt like to try. You could call it nothing. But for me, that small move was everything. Because once a Labrador starts to hope again, you can't let that flame die out. I looked at him, at that tired but stubborn little face, and I knew we'd only just started. The world hadn't noticed him yet. But I was going to make sure it did. A few days later, something began to shift. Volunteers started stopping by Sonny's kennel more often. Someone brought him soft treats, another dropped a new chew toy. Little things, but for a puppy who'd been invisible for weeks, it mattered. He still hesitated at first, tail moving slow, eyes unsure, but he was watching again. That's how a Labrador starts to come back to life, one small tail wag at a time. In the yard, I saw him chase another dog for a few seconds before slowing down. His bad leg didn't stop him. It just made his run look like a determined dance. The other dogs barked, circled, played. Sonny stood in the middle, panting, tongue out, ears perked, as if remembering what joy felt like. I swear for that brief moment, he looked proud. Not like the puppy who used to bow, but like one who was learning to stand on his own again. That afternoon, a family came to drop off donations. Their little boy, maybe 7, stopped at Sonny's kennel. He crouched down, pressed his hand to the bars, and whispered, "He's special." Sonny moved closer, nose against the metal, eyes locked on the boy's face. No fear, no hesitation, just quiet connection. 2 souls that didn't need words. The boy smiled and said, "If we could, I'd take you home." After they left, Sonny stood there a while, staring at the spot where the boy had been. Then he turned to me, and his tail gave a soft, slow wag. I hadn't seen that in weeks, and I'll be honest, it hit me hard, because sometimes all it takes is one person, even a child, to remind a dog he still matters. I leaned against the kennel and said, "You see?" Someone noticed. He blinked once, as if he understood. That night, he ate every bit of his food, then curled up facing the door instead of the wall. Small things, yeah. But in rescue work, small things are the start of miracles. And watching that young Labrador sleep peacefully again, I started to believe that maybe his story wasn't ending. It was just turning a corner. The shelter was buzzing that morning. Adoption Fair Day. Banners, tables, volunteers rushing everywhere, music playing from someone's phone. It's the kind of day every rescued puppy waits for, the one where hope fills the air like sunlight. I brushed Sonny's coat, clipped on his blue collar, and set up his little booth with photos and videos I'd made. "The Labrador who bows to everyone," the sign read. He stood beside me, tail moving, eyes wide, nervous but ready. People came fast. Families, couples, kids, laughter, noise, excitement. Sonny watched every face, tail wagging harder each time someone got close. They'd stop, smile, lean in, and then notice his leg. You could see it happen. The pause, the glance, the quiet step back. Some whispered, "He's sweet, but maybe too much work." Others just smiled politely and moved on. Each time, Sonny lowered his head a little more. I kept talking to him, keeping my voice steady, trying to fill the silence the world left behind. "You're doing great, buddy," I said. "Someone will see you. They will." He looked at me, eyes soft, trusting. That's what breaks you, that trust. Because he believed me, even when I wasn't sure anymore. Hours passed, the crowd thinned, and I started packing up. Sonny was sitting quietly, facing the parking lot, as if still waiting for one more chance. Then I noticed a boy walking toward us, slow and careful, a brace on his right leg glinting in the sunlight. He stopped in front of Sonny's pen. They just looked at each other. No bark, no words, no fear. Sonny stood up, walked closer, and pressed his nose to the boy's hand through the bars. The boy smiled, a small, shy smile that didn't need any explanation. And for the first time all day, Sonny didn't look like he was waiting. He looked like he'd found something, someone who understood. I felt it too, that strange stillness when two broken parts recognize each other. The fair kept buzzing around us, but in that little moment, it all went quiet. And I thought, maybe this is how second chances begin. Quietly, between two souls that don't need perfect legs to walk toward each other. The boy came back the next morning with his parents. I recognized him right away, the brace on his leg, the careful way he walked, each step measured but proud. He stopped in front of Sonny's kennel again. No words, just that quiet connection. Sonny stood up slowly, his tail wagging once, twice, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to be happy yet. Then he pressed his nose against the bars, and the boy reached out his hand. Their eyes met. Same calm, same quiet strength. For a moment, neither of them looked broken anymore. The parents smiled, but kept a little distance. I could tell they wanted to say yes, but their faces carried that familiar hesitation, the one I'd seen 100 times before. Sonny's leg, the brace, the cost, the time, all those invisible calculations that make people step back. The boy looked at his mom, then at me. "Can we take him?" he asked softly. His mom's eyes filled with something between love and worry. "We can't right now, sweetheart," she said, touching his shoulder. "Maybe later." He nodded, quiet, grown up in a way no kid should have to be. When they turned to leave, Sonny pressed closer to the bars, whining softly. Not loud, just enough for the boy to hear. He stopped, turned back, and smiled again. "I'll see you, okay?" he said. Sonny wagged his tail like he believed it, and maybe he did. Because that's what a Labrador does. He believes, no matter how many times the world says no. After they left, Sonny kept staring at the door. Minutes turned to hours. He didn't lie down, didn't eat, just waited. I sat beside him, resting my hand on the floor. "I'll find you your person," I whispered. "I promise." He looked at me then, eyes full of something I can't explain. Trust, pain, maybe both. It's strange how a dog can remind you what hope looks like, even when he's the one who keeps losing it. That night, I locked up the shelter later than usual. Sonny was still awake, still facing the door as if waiting for the sound of small steps returning. And for the first time, I started hoping for that sound too. A week later, another family came in asking about Labradors. They said they wanted a young one, friendly, easy to train. I smiled, thinking of Sonny, and led them toward his kennel. He stood up when he saw us, tail wagging, eyes bright again, like maybe this was the day. I opened my mouth to introduce him, to explain his story, but the father's gaze had already dropped to the leg. The pause lasted 2 seconds. That's all it ever takes. He forced a polite smile. "Oh, poor guy," he said softly, then turned to the next kennel. Sonny froze. You could feel it, the silence, heavy as stone. The mother whispered something I didn't catch. The daughter giggled. Not cruelly, just unthinking. They stopped in front of another puppy, one with perfect posture and perfect legs. "That one's beautiful," the father said. I didn't blame them, but I hated that word, beautiful, because beauty shouldn't be the reason a dog gets to live loved. Sonny sat down slowly. As the other puppy got picked up, kissed, carried away, he watched them sign the papers, tail still, ears flat, eyes following the family until the door closed behind them. Then he turned and lay down facing the wall. No sound, no movement, just quiet again. After hours, when everyone left, I stayed. The shelter lights hummed, the city outside was loud, but his silence filled the whole room. I knelt beside his kennel. He didn't look at me. Didn't need to. I whispered, "If the world won't choose you, I'll keep trying." He blinked once, slow, like he'd heard every word. You know, there's a kind of pain that doesn't break you. It just hardens something inside. That's what I saw in him that night. The Labrador who used to bow, who used to beg for love, was still in there somewhere, buried under disappointment but not gone. And I promised myself, right there, on that cold concrete floor, I'd bring him back into the light, even if I had to drag the whole world to see him. The next morning I borrowed a real camera, not my phone this time, but something that could finally show the world what I saw every day. Sonny watched from his kennel, curious, head tilted. "Come on, buddy," I said, "let's remind them who you are." He followed me into the yard, that crooked leg moving steady, strong. The light hit just right, Los Angeles morning, gold and sharp. He stood there, yellow fur glowing, tail calm but alive. I started taking pictures. Sonny sitting proud, Sonny walking, Sonny lifting his face toward the wind. He wasn't a broken puppy. He was a survivor, a Labrador with the kind of dignity no pain could erase. That night I sat at my desk, heart pounding, and uploaded everything. The caption read, "The dog who bows to everyone, but no one bows back." I added a short video, his quiet eyes, his steady walk, the way he waited at the gate as if he still believed. Then I pressed post and waited. By morning, the world had found him. The video spread fast, thousands of likes, shares, messages. People wrote things like, "He's pure love," and "That Labrador deserves everything." For the first time, strangers saw what I saw, not a defect, but a heart that never gave up. The shelter phone wouldn't stop ringing. News outlets, rescue groups, adoption requests. It was chaos, the good kind. That night, after everyone left, I checked the inbox again. One message stood out. Subject line, "We can't stop thinking about him." It was from the boy's family, the one with the leg brace. They said he'd been talking about Sonny every single day since the fair. They'd seen the photos, watched the video, and now they wanted to come back. Not to look, to decide. I glanced over at Sonny, asleep, chest rising slow, his paw stretched forward like he was reaching towards something just out of frame, and I thought, maybe he wasn't bowing anymore. Maybe this time, the world was finally bowing to him. They came on a quiet afternoon, no cameras, no noise, just the boy, his parents, and that same slow, careful walk with the brace glinting in the sunlight. Sonny was lying near the front of his kennel, half asleep, tail twitching. The moment he heard the boy's voice, just one soft, "Hey, Sonny," he lifted his head fast, ears up, eyes wide, like he couldn't believe it. Then he stood. Not perfect, not smooth, a little shaky, a little crooked, but he stood tall. And he started walking. Each step uneven, but sure, the sound of his claws against the concrete steady and determined. The boy knelt down, his own leg stiff in its brace, and pressed his hand through the bars. Sonny leaned in and stayed there, eyes closing, breath calm. No bowing this time, no begging, just two souls meeting where pain used to live. His mother covered her mouth, his father looked away, blinking hard. The boy whispered, "We came back for you." Sonny wagged his tail, slow at first, then stronger, until his whole body shook with joy. I unlocked the gate, and the boy opened his arms. Sonny stepped forward, chest against his shoulder, tail thumping like thunder. No one said a word. You didn't need words for something that pure. Even the shelter noise faded. No barking, no footsteps, just quiet breathing, and that sound of a heart finally finding home. He didn't bow anymore. He didn't have to. The boy and the Labrador stood side by side, like each marked in their own way, but neither looking broken. They were equals, two fighters who'd stopped apologizing for the way they walked through the world. When they turned toward the door, sunlight poured through the open frame. For a moment, it looked like it was lighting the way just for them. And as I watched them leave, I realized something simple and hard. This wasn't the end of Sonny's story. It was the beginning of the one he'd been waiting for all along. We sat in the small office, papers spread across the desk, the smell of coffee and disinfectant mixing in the air. Sonny was lying on the floor between the boy's feet, head resting on the brace, tail flicking against the tiles every few seconds. The mother filled out the forms, signing her name slowly, as if afraid this moment might disappear if she rushed. The father asked about food, about vet visits, about what kind of care a young Labrador like him needed. I answered quietly, though part of me could barely focus. I was too busy watching Sonny breathe like he finally belonged somewhere. When everything was signed, the mother looked up. "So, that's it?" she asked. I nodded. "That's it. He's yours now." The boy smiled so wide it made me laugh under my breath. He knelt down, wrapped his arms around Sonny's neck, and whispered something I couldn't hear. Sonny pressed closer, eyes half closed, that deep sigh of a dog who finally feels safe. We walked together to the door. Sonny stayed close to the boy's side, matching his pace, the crooked leg and the brace moving in the same slow rhythm. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. People stopped to watch them go, some smiling, some wiping their eyes. Even the other dogs quieted down for a moment, as if they understood. Outside, the sunlight hit just right, warm and golden. The boy opened the car door and Sonny jumped in carefully, turning once before settling beside him. The mother fastened the seatbelt. The father thanked me, voice tight. I nodded, but couldn't speak for a second. You spend months trying to save a dog, and then one day you have to let him go. That's rescue. That's love, too. As the car pulled out of the parking lot, Sonny looked back through the window. Just one look, steady, calm, full of trust. It said everything I needed to hear. He wasn't a shelter dog anymore. He was home. It's been a few months now. Sometimes the boy's mother sends me photos. Sonny lying under a blanket, Sonny at the park, Sonny waiting by the window when school runs late. But my favorite one is them running together in the yard. The boy's brace glints in the sunlight, and that yellow Labrador keeps pace beside him, step for step, like they share one heartbeat. You can't watch that without feeling something shift inside you. I still catch myself looking at his old kennel when I walk through the shelter. It's empty, but not in a sad way, more like it's resting, waiting for another story to start. Every rescued puppy leaves something behind, a little hope, a reminder that broken doesn't mean less. Sonny taught me that. He didn't need a perfect body, he just needed someone to see his perfect heart. If you've ever overlooked a dog because they didn't look perfect, don't. Somewhere, there's another Labrador waiting, head lowered, paw out, believing someone will finally stop. Don't scroll past that moment. Be the one who reaches back. This little guy's journey from abandonment to rehabilitation shows how important nonprofit rescue groups really are. Caring for a rescued puppy is more than love. It's responsibility. It's pet care. Because love isn't just about saving a life. It's about staying when no one else does. Sonny doesn't bow anymore. The world finally bowed to him. Together, we turn rescue into hope. This is Lab's Paws.